Now on Just One station, a South Florida father gunned down. Officials say this killer crime was over a parking spot. The alleged shooter still on the run.
And this morning, the victim's family is speaking exclusively to 7's Sheldon Fox.
You took my son.
Her firstborn is gone.
To come and deal with my son in the morgue over a parking space.
And now there's a world of pain for a surviving family. Sharika Butts tells 7 News her 27-year-old son, Demetrius Harris, a father to 2 small daughters, was killed Sunday.
He wanted to be there with his kids. The last thing that me and him did on Sunday was we played makeup through FaceTime with his daughter.
As he and his fiancée headed out,
I locked eyes on the gun.
they encountered a cold-blooded killer, someone they knew, says the family.
But I turned around and I just ran and I didn't look back.
Quick, why is the baby mother not showing her face? Even though we're seeing the face of the baby daddy. And the mother and baby-in-law, whatever you want to call it. But the mother-in-law the would-be mother-in-law. Well, she's not showing her face because she's scared of reprisal. She doesn't want to be known as a snitch. She doesn't want to be known as a rat. And the guy who did this is still out there. So she's got several reasons. And no one can protect her. The NFAC, BLM, nobody can protect her. She's on her own. Now baby daddy did. Maybe she got some brothers or something, some cousins. Oh yeah, it is one group she can call. But they can't even protect, because they're trying to find the guy. That's the way they can protect her, by trying to find the guy. But they can't protect her from the ridicule and ostracization of being called a rat and a snitch and all this crap and working with the feds and all this stuff. Because when you're in the hood, you're expected to handle this stuff in the streets. But whatever. Even if they're not those type of people, these aren't hood people or whatever. They're in the hood. And hood rules win. It's so sad, man, when I see stories like this. Sister can't even show her face. And if a junkie died in police custody, and take a dart, put a map on the wall and throw the dart at the map. Wherever it lands, that city, that town, that township, that borough, wherever it lands, that district, that burg, that ville, wherever it lands, if a junkie dies in police custody there, throw ODs on whatever drug he was taking, the police are called, and the police come and they take him to the hospital. He dies in the back of their car on the way to the hospital. This sister be outraged, and she'd be on Twitter and she'd be on Facebook talking about racism. But nobody can help her in her moment of need. That community, she's on her own.
As he and his fiancée headed out,
I locked eyes on the gun.
they encountered a cold-blooded killer, someone they knew, says the family.
But I turned around and I just ran and I didn't look back.
The couple just needed a few short steps to get from this front door to the parking space and the car, which was right here. Except there was an angry neighbor who had rage in his heart and a gun in his hand. The family says he shot down from a nearby balcony, killing Harris.
Over a parking space from his kids and his family.
With rage in his heart and a gun in his hands. So, that was his parking space. And listen, you have to understand, a lot of y'all don't understand, when it's 2 Sunmen and there's a dispute, it usually almost instantly leads to violence of some sort. But this was a ongoing feud. And apparently that guy wanted to park his car there. And sometimes it's not even about whether that's my parking spot or not or whatever. It's the principle. I told you that's where I want to park my car. And it becomes the principle of it. So the guy's like, so now every time this guy who's now deceased parks his car there, the guy takes it as disrespect. And that comes from when you don't own things. When you have a group of men that, you know, the ones who do own things are basically telling you can't make it. But on average, the majority of Sunmen don't own much, okay? Even you hear about these guys playing in the NFL, NBA, having these long rap careers, and then they're broke at 5 years later. And you don't own much. So when you don't own things, little things like, you know, your tennis shoes, your Gucci belt, you know, a parking space, the magnitude is raised on the ownership level. Like, it's almost, you know, the corner where you hang out at, you and your guys congregate on a certain corner. These things take on more weight and more value. And then you throw that in with the fact that when two Sunmen have a dispute, it almost always leads to violence. So both of those issues, what led to what we saw here.
The couple just needed a few short steps to get from this front door to the parking space and the car, which was right here. Except there was an angry neighbor who had rage in his heart and a gun in his hand. The family says he shot down from a nearby balcony, killing Harris.
Over a parking space from his kids and his family.
The bullets also hit this parked car, which belongs to another neighbor. Harris was the only one hit. The shooter got away and remains uncaught. The family says the men had argued over that spot before. How it was settled took a life and changed others forever.
Okay. Okay, so our brother here, we don't know what he contributed to this situation. And that's what happens in a lot of these cases that I do. Somebody's dead and they're the victim and the person who killed them is the bad guy. And oftentimes these cases they're a little bit more nuanced than that. We know that he had young daughters and he was active in their life. I know 100 thug dudes that love their kids and see their kids periodically, you know? Or, you know, more than, they're not like completely out of their kids' life. They might not be with them every day, but they see them on a pretty regular basis. There's more to the story. There's more to the story. This guy's probably, you know, had something to do with the situation. But what I want you guys to understand is that, yeah, both guys could have had something to do with the situation. However, if you look at the gun memorial, when you look at the stand, it's always brothers on the gun memorial. Like, we're the killers. So the fact that it's two brothers had a dispute and it ended up in killing, that's a big part of the story. That's why, you know, it's called black on black violence, because if you have a country where you're 13% of the population, and in this case 6% of the population, and you make up 70% of the homicides since 2020, that means that 94% of the population accounts for the other 30%. So there is a bullseye on you. If there was any other situation where the ratio was that skewed, there would be scrutiny on that group. The reason we judge, you know, white men the way we do, because the majority of the politicians, the majority of the judges, the majority of the people who represent us in the political sphere are white men. So they take on a pronounced amount of scrutiny. Okay? So if you're making up 6% of the population but accounting for 70% of the homicides, there's going to be a thing known as black on black violence, crime. Period. In the story.
The family says the men had argued over that spot before, how it was settled, took a life, and changed others forever. Sheldon Fox, Today in Florida.
Now, this happened Sunday evening in the 1300 block of Southwest 270th Street in Southwest Miami-Dade. If you have any information, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers or Miami-Dade Police.